There was a year in business where I made more decisions in 12 months than most people make in an entire decade. Not because I was particularly good at it, but because the business forced me to. I had to learn how to lead people I wasn't even sure how to manage, how to hold a vision when the numbers disagreed with it, and how to make decisions without having everything I needed to feel certain, and how to recover from mistakes quickly and keep moving forward without letting it pile up for over a week. And the funny thing is, none of that came from a course. None of it came from a book. It came from staying in the room when every instinct said to leave. And looking back on that year, all those years, what I understand now is that the business paid me financially much later on. But damn, did it start building me literally from day one. I think a lot of people enter entrepreneurship believing the biggest challenge will be the strategy, how to market better, how to attract more patients, how to grow a team, and even how to manage the numbers. And yes, I guess that definitely all does matter. But the longer I have been in business, the more clearly I can see that the hardest part is rarely the information. It's more who you have to become in order to hold the responsibility of it. Because when it's your business, there is no guaranteed outcome. There is no safety net. And there's rarely a time where everything suddenly feels certain and fully under control. And the side effect of that is entrepreneur puts you in a really sustained relationship with uncertainty. And for most people, that is where the real difficulty lies. Not in the strategy, but in the tolerance and ability to make clear decisions without perfect information and have the capacity to keep leading when you're genuinely unsure of what comes next. That is a skill. And I guess like most skills, it's not taught. It's built and acquired through experiences, through pressure, through specific discomforts of being responsible for outcomes you can't fully control. One of the clearest things entrepreneurship has shown me is the direct relationship between how you are thinking and the results you create. This is not a motivational idea. It's something I have watched play out too many times to dismiss. When you're running on fear, when the background noise in your mind is, I'm not good enough for this, maybe I've made the wrong decision, or this is going to completely fall apart, those thoughts don't just stay in your head. They really affect the decisions you make, the way you speak, the way you present yourself, and the way you present to patients, and ultimately the things you avoid because you feel too exposing. Fear creates reactive decisions. Reactive decisions create unstable outcomes. And unstable outcomes just confirm the fear. And it's literally like this vicious cycle. Now, the opposite is also true. When you are grounded, have enough clarity and steadiness to think past the immediate pressures, the decisions you make during that time tend to be better. They tend to be calmer and simply more aligned with where you really are trying to go. Two people facing the exact same business challenges can create completely different outcomes. And that's not because one is more intelligent, but because one is more steadier internally. That steadiness is something you build. It does not arrive already formed. It develops through repeated experience of pressure and through those tough learnings that over time you start to respond rather than reacting. There is definitely a specific kind of frustration that almost every business owner I've ever spoken to has experienced. It's almost like the phrase, I know what I need to do, I'm just not doing it consistently. You know you need clearer systems. You know you need to have that conversation with a certain team member you've been avoiding for literally like the past 3 months. And you know you need to raise your prices. And still you don't. And the same patterns keep showing up. This is one of the most important things to understand about building a business. It doesn't just expose your knowledge gaps, it exposes your behavioral patterns and your mistakes under pressure. The ways you have learned to respond to discomfort in the past, they may have worked elsewhere. But in your business, they're no longer going to serve you. But why I'm telling you this is because growth in business is not only about learning more. At a certain point, which arrives earlier than most people actually expect, and then it becomes about being more disciplined in how you actually behave. The most simple yet important things, like being able to make decisions when you're tired, the ability to continue to hold high standards when actually it would be a lot easier to let the things slide. And the way you show up on the days when showing up costs something. That kind of growth is quieter than strategy. It's really less visible. It's harder to put into a plan. But these are what will shape every result you'll ever get. I just want to spend a moment on resilience because I think it's one of those misunderstood words in business. When most people talk about resilience, they mean endurance, pushing harder, carrying more, tolerating more, working through more. But that's not actually resilience. That is often survival mode. And survival mode, sustained for long enough, it actually doesn't make you stronger. It makes you more brittle and can definitely lead to burnout. Real resilience is quieter than that. It's the ability to stay clear when things feel unstable, to make a good decision under conditions that are definitely not ideal, to recover, but actually recover, not just push through and return to something like it was equilibrium. It's also the ability to recognize when the problem is not external, because sometimes a clinic is not performing because of marketing issues or pricing issues, or even a team member or team issues. Sometimes it's underperforming because the person leading it is running on empty. You become reactive, overextended, and you make decisions from anxiety rather than clarity. And guess what? No amount of strategy will fix that. You can't build a stable business on an unstable foundation. And if the foundation is the owner's internal state, which is most owner-dependent clinics, then sometimes the most important work is not in the business at all. It's actually in the person running it. At some point, resilience has to mature into leadership. Not resilience as endurance, but leadership as the structure and the clarity of building a business that no longer requires you to hold everything together. And that is a different kind of growth. And it always starts from inside. When I look at entrepreneurship now, I no longer see it as a commercial journey. I see it as a mirror. It shows you where you doubt yourself, where you reach for certainty before you're willing to commit, where you avoid the decisions that feel too exposing, where you still quietly need someone else's approval before you can trust your own direction. But also, if you stay with it long enough, it develops you. It builds precision into your thinking, steadiness under pressure, the kind of confidence that does not come from never failing, but from having failed and kept going and applying that understanding from experiences. This actually builds your capacity to hold more, to have more responsibility, to endure more ambiguity, and to function with more complexity, all without needing everything resolved before you can even function. The most important thing about development you gain is its permanence. Remember, your business revenue can change, the same as the chapter you're currently in can change. But the person you became while building, the patterns you broke, the clarity you built, and the standards you raised in yourself, that does not leave with the business. It is yours forever. So before you ask, how do I fix this externally? I want you to sit with one question first. When pressure hits in your business, and it will at one time or another, what does it actually expose in you? Fear? Is it avoidance? Maybe it's the need to control everything. Maybe self-doubt you thought you had already dealt with. Because the honest answer to that question is where your real growth lies. The business you are building is already building you. The only question is whether you're paying attention and open to what it's trying to teach you. If this resonated, I would love to know in the comments, what has building your business exposed in you that maybe surprised you the most? And remember guys, don't forget to like and subscribe for more future videos. And remember, protect your investment.